Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we will be talking about Checkpoint Maestro. My name is Michael Holden from Byte Security Partnerships. I'm pleased to be joined today by Laszlo from Checkpoint, who is a security expert for EMEA, who will be taking you through the bulk of today's presentation. The agenda for the webinar. Firstly, a short overview of Byte, then we'll go through some of the discussion points for the session. We'll then move into the bulk of the presentation from Laszlo, which will be followed by a Q&A session. But first, some housekeeping. Attendee lines will be on mute throughout the session. There will be a Q&A at the end, so please post any questions in the questions window or the chat box, and I will field them during the session. This is purely a strategic discussion. Any commercials can be discussed with your Bytes account manager after the session. Everyone will receive the recording after the session. And lastly, we have a feedback survey at the end of this presentation and would appreciate it if you could take 2 minutes to complete it, as we use this to make sure that our webinars are still hitting the mark. So, who are we? Byte Security Partnerships is the specialist security partner of the Bytes Group in the UK. Bytes aim to marry up the agility, insight, and personal approach from the smallest specialist partner with the scale and the scope that comes from being part of a much larger group. We are proud here at Bytes of the technical expertise we have around the solutions we deploy, and that allows us to enjoy top-tier vendor partnerships, which allows us to deliver for customers on both the technical and commercial sides. We work across the full spectrum of information security, from perimeter and next-gen firewall through to cloud and mobile security, data security, and access and authentication, offering both hardware and software solutions. What we offer and add value to businesses and vendor partner solutions is the technical suite of services that we are able to deploy. Whether that's looking at security strategy deployment, technology mapping, project scoping, planning and delivery, or 24/7 direct-to-engineer support. There are a wide variety of ways in which we can act as an extension of your IT teams to make sure that the solutions you deploy add value quickly. That's enough about us. Let's talk about Maestro. So today's discussion will share what Maestro is and how hyperscaling can add value to your business. As mentioned, we are joined by Laszlo from Checkpoint. Bytes and Checkpoint have a long-standing partnership, with Bytes holding the highest possible partner status of 4-star elite. Checkpoint have been in Gartner's Enterprise Network Firewall Magic Quadrant as leaders for over a decade and secure more than 100,000 businesses worldwide. Over to you, Laszlo.
Yeah, hi everybody. This is Laszlo speaking. I'm working in an overlay team of Checkpoint, responsible purely for Maestro. And actually, I'm working with Checkpoint for 10 years, and with Checkpoint products for about 20 years. So today, I'm going to talk about Maestro. It was already mentioned we will have a short introduction about Maestro, and I will talk about a few use cases we have with this new product, and Q&A in the end. So one of the first things we were thinking about when we released Maestro was the continuous increase in requirements, security requirements for throughput and security features. Because what we see that traffic doubles every 3 years and approximately every 3 years, and it's obviously not for every of our customers, but we see that for each and every customer there's a continuous increase in requirements. More and more online services are available. We use less and less our data centers. So we need to have more and more perimeter protection, or if you are providing data center services, you certainly will need more throughput and more security features enabled on your system for your data center. So with Maestro, we are thinking about how to solve this and how to how to make sure that we are able to provide almost the same or quite the same features as in the public cloud. So resiliency, spin up of new machines very easily for the ability to growing on demand. And we came up with the scalable platform solution. We already had scalable platforms like the chassis in the past, and we are still using those for special customer requirements, for example, for telcos. But Maestro is something that is using the same technology, but it's available for much more customers, much more verticals. Maestro is a hyperscale network security solution. But it's not only about hyperscaling. It's not only about on-demand expansion and scaling up to pretty high throughput. But it's also about much easier management than normal security gateway systems can provide. It makes the daily administrative life much easier, and much less resources are needed for managing the Maestro system as any other checkpoint gateway system, cluster systems, or any other vendor's solutions. Also, we provide cloud level resiliency locally. You don't need to necessarily to go to the cloud for that. We are able to increase capacity on demand and also very soon automatically. So we are able to increase the number of appliances in the solution automatically based on the requirements, based on the throughput or security feature requirements. So the Maestro systems contain two basic components. One of them is the Orchestrator, which you can see here, the Maestro Hyperscale Orchestrator 170, MHO 170, and MHO 140. The MHO 170 has QSFP ports, so 32, 100 gig, 40 gig, or 4x10 gig ports, which makes it very high port density. And MHO 140 is for smaller customers, providing 48 SFP plus ports, so 1 gig or 10 gig, and 8 QSFP 28 ports. With this port density, we can provide a unique solution for our customers who require a lot of separated ports, don't necessarily use VLAN on all their network interfaces, trunk ports on their network interfaces, but use dedicated ports for dedicated networks and services. The other component of the Maestro system is the normal checkpoint gateway appliance. We support here all the 2016 series appliances and also the new appliances that we provide, the 6000 series, the 16000 series, and the 26000 series. How everything is connected together. Basically, the appliances are only connected to the security orchestrators, to the Maestro orchestrators. They do not have any external connection. The external connections to your network, LAN, Internet, DMZ, whatever local networks or remote networks you have, you connect to the orchestrators themselves. Traffic comes into the orchestrators, and basically then it's distributed between the appliances in the Maestro installation. All of these appliances work pretty much the same way as normal checkpoint appliances. They apply the same security policy, and they can apply the same threat prevention features, enforce these threat prevention features. And once the security system that has done its purpose, filter the traffic, filter the content, then the traffic is going out from the orchestrators. And on the network, basically you only see one single system, not the appliances themselves. So even there is, in this example, there is 3 appliances, you will see only one security system on your network. In case the traffic increases, you pretty quickly are able to increase your throughput of the system. You add one more appliance, and the load automatically gets distributed between the additional appliance and the old appliances. When you do this, when you add the new appliance to the system, basically once you rack mounted the appliance and you connected the appliance to the orchestrators, it's not more than 6 minutes and the new appliance is up and running and passing traffic. So you don't have several minutes or several hours configuring each and every setting like on a normal cluster you would do. IP addresses, routing, time zone, whatever settings you need to specify there. Here, everything is configured automatically from the already running appliances. Every setting is synced from the already running appliances. And not only the settings, but also the image can be synced. So you don't even need to install hotfixes or jumbo fixes. Everything can be synced from the already running system. In a classic load sharing cluster, you don't have linear increase of throughput when you add new appliances, because the synchronization traffic is getting higher and higher, and that also influences the overall throughput of the system. But the Maestro Hyperscale solution uses a totally different sync technology. It's called Hypersync, and it makes possible that basically we don't lose that much of overall throughput with synchronization traffic. We are almost able to do a fully linear scalability of the solution. With that, adding additional appliances actually really increases the throughput as you would expect, and not like in a normal cluster where you add more appliance and you, yes, increase the throughput, but overall the synchronization traffic will take a lot of CPU resources, so the overall performance will be much lower. Also in a normal cluster, you are able to go up to 5 appliances in a single cluster. In the Maestro Hyperscale system, you are able to go up to 52 appliances. And if you are using 52 appliances, even if they are small appliances or maybe big appliances, you can get to really huge throughput numbers. Yeah, obviously not a lot of customers are going for over 1 tera NGTP or NGTX requirements, but we have customers who are looking to several hundreds of gigs traffic, and not only firewalling, but real threat prevention performance. You can also combine different appliances into security groups. So you have seen in the previous pictures, we had 3 appliances, 4 appliances in the system, or we have 52 appliances in the system, but it's not necessarily one single system. You are able to separate these appliances logically from each other. So you can create several groups in the Maestro Hyperscale orchestrator, and with that you can have different features in these groups. So you can have up to 8 security groups. In one security group, you can have up to 31 appliances, and as I mentioned, you can have up to 52 appliances in one system. That means that if you create, for example, 2 security groups, one security group could be responsible for perimeter traffic, running NGTX feature set. The other security group could be responsible for the data center traffic, running next generation firewall feature set. These appliances could be different. So group 1 could be running 6,000 series appliances, group 2 could be running 23,000 series appliances. Or besides having different software features enabled, they could run different software versions as well. So R80.20SP on one group and R80.30SP on the other group. They are totally independent from each other, just they are managed by the same Maestro Hyperscale orchestrators. Just a high-level diagram to show you how everything is connected. As I mentioned, basically the appliances are not connected to the network. The security gateway appliances are not connected to the network. They are just connected to the orchestrators. These what we call downlinks. This can be 10 gig or 40 gig, whatever the appliance supports and the customer requirements are. Then the orchestrators are connected to the network. Again, it could be 1 gig, 10 gig, 40 gig, 100 gig interfaces, whatever the requirements are. And basically, once the traffic is received by the orchestrators, it's distributed between the appliances. And even the traffic can be distributed by the orchestrators. So if you connect, for example, to your LAN, then you can create a bond connection between the two orchestrators, and whatever happens, if the network connection goes down or one of the orchestrator goes down, still via the bond, the system will be up and running and handling traffic. So everything together in one picture, orchestrators and security gateway appliances, which are basically the computing nodes in this system. And on the right side, you can see how it looks like in real life in our QA lab. It shows that cabling is pretty tiny here. You have only connections to the orchestrator and no cables going around, no cable messed up in different directions. Everything is very clear. So let's see some use cases where Maestro comes very handy. So we have all these use cases. All these use cases were real customers. They are not made up. They are from real customers. In the first use case, we have a very simple installation. One single location, one server room. Small, medium-sized customer. And we have a redundant system with 2 orchestrators and 4 appliances. The customers here require the scalability. They require the more throughput in the upcoming years. One of the customers said that today they only want to have 5 gig capacity in their systems, but they gigabit per second throughput in their systems, but they expect that in 3 to 5 years they will need 10 or 15 gig throughput or even more. So with normal solution, normal security gateway solution, you would need to buy today what is required in 3 years time frame or 5 years time frame, because obviously you don't want to replace every few years your system. But with Maestro, you can start with the requirements of today. Start with 2 appliances, for example, in the security group, and once you need more throughput, you can add additional appliances. No reconfiguration of the system will be needed. You just rack-mount the appliance, connect the cables, and add the appliances in the configuration to the security group, and that's it. You extended your system in 6 minutes without any downtime, whenever you need. In this scenario, for example, the municipality I'm talking about was having a multi-vendor solution, different solution for the security gateway, different solution for content filtering, and they also wanted to move everything to a single vendor solution. And again, if you have more and more features enabled in a security gateway, not only in Checkpoint, but every kind of security gateways, if you enable more features, you will need more processing capacity to be able to provide the same throughput. With Maestro, if you need more features and you need more processing capacity, not necessarily more throughput, but more CPU capacity, more computing nodes, then you just simply add 1 additional appliance to the system, or more appliances depending on the growth, and then you are able to use the system pretty quickly, upscaled without any issue. Here in this scenario, all gateways and all orchestrators are actively used. So this is a full active scenario. But here we are talking about 1 single application. The next example, we have a little bit bigger customer and the university. In this scenario, they have one location, but 2 server rooms. The 2 server rooms are about 200 or 300 meters away from each other. So it's the same manufacturing location, or in case of the university, the same campus, but the 2 data center locations are separated. I wouldn't say geographically, because 300 meters is not that big separation, but they are separated into different rooms. Also, the car manufacturer, the motorcycle manufacturer, and the university constantly faces that whatever they do, whatever equipment they have, the throughput requirements are increasing so rapidly that they are not able to keep up with these requirements. So especially the university, with a lot of students, where on the campus no internet bandwidth would be enough for the students. They use a Maestro solution, and they started with a 20 gig requirement, but they already see that since now they are able to provide this 20 gig to the students require even more. So they already see that the next years, in the upcoming years, they will need to increase their capacity, but with Maestro solution, they are able to do that. With other solutions, they would need to replace their equipment pretty quickly. And again, here, if you start in small, the initial cost is also much lower than going for a full-blown solution that would require in 5 years from now. Here you can see that all appliances and all orchestrators are connected to each other. So this is also a fully active scenario. So all the gateways are active, just they are in a different location. Of course, everything is fully synchronized. So if one server room fails, everything will continue to work in the other server room. In this example, we have another customer, retail chain, which has the 2 data centers, actually 200 kilometers, close to 200 kilometers away from each other. And we have a healthcare customer where obviously the hospitals are also a few kilometers away from each other. So the previous 2 scenarios where we have a maximum 300 meter connection distance limitation, I wouldn't call it limitation, that's how that use case works. Here you can go basically to an unlimited distance. You can have direct cables between the sites if you have that kind of infrastructure, or you can have layer 2 devices between the server rooms. You see, if it's a bigger distance, then most probably you will have layer 2 devices on the way and not direct cables. So we have both scenarios covered here. In this scenario, one of the data center will be active, and the secondary data center will be in standby state. Of course, all the connections will be synced. So if one data center, the first data center goes down, room 1 goes down, still the other data center will be up and running fine and serving all the requests to the secondary side. As I mentioned, you can use multiple security groups in Maestro. In this example, we have one security group which is active in room 1 and standby in room 2. But if you create a second security group, that could be active on the other side. So it could be active in room 2 and standby in room 1. So basically, you achieve an active data center scenario by using 2 different security groups for that. Also in this scenario, you can see that between the sites, there's not so many connections. In the previous scenarios, each and every appliance was connected to both orchestrators. But in this scenario, you only need to connect the orchestrators. The appliances are connected to their local orchestrators. So in case you have two orchestrators, you will have also two connections between the sites, not a single connection, two connections between the sites. That will provide you redundancy. Also on the appliance side, I displayed here one 10 gig connection for each gateway, but that could be, as I mentioned, 40 gig, and that could be also redundant. So we can add additional connections from gateways to the orchestrators. That doesn't only increase the redundancy, but also the throughput, because the orchestrator would use both rings to actively, and with that you would basically double the available throughput, the wire speed, towards both appliances. The retail chain here basically went for this solution because they have more and more shops around the country, and with that their VPN, site-to-site VPN throughput requirements increase continuously. And with Maestro, they can use this scalability feature to increase their VPN capacities. Also in the retail chain, there are very often cases where you have certain days like Black Friday or certain periods like Christmas, when you have much more customers, much more throughput in your network, much higher throughput requirements in your network. So you cannot accommodate to this kind of peaks with any kind of normal security gateway solution. But with Maestro, you just drop in one more appliance if you have Black Friday, and the system will be able to cope with the requirements very easily. After that, high peaks are over. You can use that appliance in another security group, for example, protecting your finance network, and everything is back to normal. And it's a drag and drop configuration, very easy to move appliances between security groups. In this example, it looks pretty similar to the previous one. We have two sites several kilometers away from each other, but these customers, the wholesale customer and the insurance customer, wanted to use both sites actively, but at the same time, they didn't want to use two security groups. So we virtualized their gateways. And what we did with this is one single security group in a VSLS installation, virtualized gateway installation, and one virtual system is running in room 1, and the other virtual system is running in room 2. Of course, if one of the room goes down, then the virtual systems will become active on the other side, and everything will be still running. In all the scenarios, we talk about full state synchronization. So whichever appliance or whichever orchestrator or one site, even one site goes down totally, the other site or the other appliances are able to take over without losing any connections. In this customer, we also use multiple VSs, not only this the insurance customer, not only these two as in this example are shown, but more. Customer had a dedicated VPN gateway from other vendor previously, and now they moved the VPN, both the site-to-site and the remote access VPNs to one virtual system in the Maestro installation. So that is basically virtual system 3. And now they don't have to use again a multi-vendor solution. They can use a single vendor solution with a single management access. So to sum it up, with Maestro highlights, I already talked all about the scalability. No other vendor has any similar kind of scalable solution. Of course, there are some chassis-based solutions like our 44K and 64K appliances, where you can put additional computing resources, gateway modules into the system. But with those, you are limited to the size of the chassis, which is, in our case, for the 64K, it's 12 gateway appliances. In Maestro, you can go up to 52 appliances currently. We are already working on a feature to increase this to up to 64 appliances. And of course, you wouldn't like to start with 20 appliances from day one. But imagine that you start with 2 appliances or 3 appliances, and your throughput requirements increase continuously. You misjudge your requirements, and you need suddenly much more throughput. Then you just drop in 1 more appliance, and you are good to go for the next couple of months or years, depends on your increase. So with 52 appliances, or later on with 64 appliances, you are able to use the same single security solution for a really, really long time without the need to reconfigure your system or think about any kind of scalability problem. Also, using more appliances gives you more resiliency. We always recommend N+1 redundancy in the Maestro system. Of course, it works without that as well. But in case 2 appliances would be required for your throughput requirements, then we say use 3, and even if one fails, you will be still fully able to provide all the capacity that is required. Of course, no presentation is a presentation about mentioning elasticity and agility. So I would be really happy to show you Maestro in real life if you are interested, and you would, or in the demo environment later on, and then you would be able to see that the configuration and even the initial setup, but the overall configuration is really simple. It's basically a web-based drag and drop tool that we have on Maestro, and it really, really makes the daily life of administrative personnel easier. I haven't talked about the Orchestrator hardware features, more just mentioned the ports. And that's most of the time the important part. But in case you are thinking about how much capacity would be this system capable of, then I can tell you that it has huge numbers. So it can go up to 6.4 terabits per second throughput, and to a high PPS rate, 9.5 billion PPS, which sounds a lot and unreasonably a lot. You probably don't need that much. But if you think about the scenario where you have 1 security group on the perimeter and 1 security group in the data center, and you don't have DDoS protection system on your internet pipe, you get a DDoS attack with a huge amount of packets per second without any protection. Of course, your security gateways will go down, but your orchestrator will be still up, which means that your data center security group will be still up and running. Yes, your perimeter firewalls in the perimeter security group will be overloaded. You know, that's what happens with a huge DDoS attack. Your internet pipe will be also overloaded, but the data center security group won't have any issue. It will still work perfectly. And of course, we have a very low latency in this appliance. This latency is not the same latency that you have if the traffic goes through the appliances, the security gateways, of course, but the appliance having this low latency makes it possible for us to introduce hopefully soon another solution where we'll be able to do firewalling with Maestro solution and security groups for high frequency trading floors, which means for any kind of environment where really low latency is needed. So thank you very much for your attention, and let's jump over to QA if you have questions.
That's great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Laszlo, as well. So we have one question at the moment. If there's any other questions, please do feel free to ask them while we get this one answered. So Laszlo, the question I have here from Michael is, can you still use Security Manager Server to manage the firewalls?
Yes, of course. Of course. You can use the same security management as you have today for any kind of checkpoint gateways. And you can use the normal security management, you can use the multi-domain management. And since these security groups are totally independent from each other, in case you have different departments and different personnel managing the perimeter and the data center, for example, then the perimeter security group could be managed by the perimeter management server and the perimeter administrators, and the data center could be managed by a different management server and the data center administrators, or everything could be managed by one security management. So we have quite a big flexibility here.
That's great. So we haven't got any more questions at this point. So what I'd like to say is thank you to everybody for attending, taking the time out of your day to watch this webinar with us. And Laszlo, thank you very much for presenting. I'm sure everybody found it rather insightful. And if you have any more questions, please do not hesitate to send them to your account manager, and we will get, or to me, and I will get them answered for you. It's great. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.